Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bird Notice. Billy here. Luis Heel wins the American League Rookie of the Year. Mike Elias admits a mistake, and the Dodgers win the World Series. But Ryan, what episode number is this?
This is episode number 64, which was won by Corbin Joseph, the younger brother of former Orioles catcher Caleb Joseph. Corbin was drafted by the Yankees in the fourth round of the 2008 draft out of Franklin High School in Tennessee. In the same draft, his older brother, by about 2.5 years, was drafted by the O's in the seventh round out of Lipscomb University. Corbin Joseph played over 1,100 games in the minors and 44 in the majors, mostly at second base. He had a respectable .292 average and .802 OPS in 13 minor league seasons that included stints in both Norfolk and Rochester. Corbin debuted in the majors with the Yankees in 2013 at the age of 24, playing in just 2 games, and did not reach the majors again until 14 games with the 2018 Orioles. He hit his only major league home run as an Oakland Athletic in 2019. He also had short stints in San Francisco and Pittsburgh to round out his major league career. Corbin and Caleb first appeared in the same game together on June 19, 2018, when Caleb started at catcher for the O's and Corbin had a pinch hit RBI against the Nationals. Later that season, Corbin pinch hit for Caleb in the 8th inning on September 11th against the A's, lining out to deep center field, according to Baseball Reference. You got a 64 for us?
I don't. I think I'm going to cede the jersey segment to you for the foreseeable future. You can still ask me if I have one, and I'll keep listeners on their toes, whether I have one or not.
That's fair. I have to admit the choices were mostly boring.
Yeah.
I get sick of doing pitchers because I feel like there's just more of them. So there's more pitcher options. So I was like, well, who's a hitter I can talk about that has something somewhat interesting? And Caleb Joseph's brother was the best I could do.
I remember him on the Tides. I was going to do Bruce Chen, and then every time I went to go write it, I was like, I don't care about Bruce Chen. And then I was thinking, like, this will streamline the show if I don't do one every week. And then, I probably put too much work into my notes anyway, so this will save me some energy and time on the podcast. So I was like, yeah, this makes it. I even have it in my notes, Ryan's jersey number, so there's no going back now.
Fair enough. Whenever I hear 64, I just think of Nintendo 64.
Yeah, I like it. Doesn't Dean Kramer wear 64, right?
Yeah. He would have been like the obvious one, but I feel like we talk about him every episode in some regards. So I like talking more about the obscure guys or people who have an interesting story.
Yeah, Dean's important this year, that's for sure. Before we get into all the Orioles stuff, did you watch any of the World Series?
A tiny bit. It was more just like checking the box score and hoping the Yankees were losing, and that obviously went well if you're rooting against them. How about yourself?
I watched games 1 and 2 during the intermissions of Nashville Predators games. This was before the Predators revealed themselves to be a total disappointment. I did see Freddie Freeman's walk-off grand slam in real time, though. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
And then I saw Ice Cube's performance before Game 2. I'm a huge Ice Cube head. I've been listening to Ice Cube since I was like 10 years old. I still listen to his shit. So
okay.
That was awesome. That was so cool.
He was in NWA, right?
Yeah. He used to write
Compton.
He used to write all their rhymes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wrote like all Dr. Dre stuff when they were in NWA.
Interesting. I did not know that.
I even listened to his newer stuff, and I even watched some of the Big 3 because of him. That's how much I like Ice Cube. I watched some of the Big 3.
Is that the basketball league?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The like retired basketball players?
Yeah, I think he's really onto something because if he can sell off the teams, he'll make a shitload of money.
Aren't they doing a women's version of that? I think I read they're doing a women's 3-on-3 thing, like I think in the new year, like early 2025.
Yeah, I saw that headline. I don't think he's involved in that at all, but I think there is some.
It just reminded me of that.
There was a hockey one a couple years ago. I forget what it was called, Big Ice or something. Do you remember that?
I heard about it. I just don't think it would do well in the States. Like maybe some random Canadian locales who care enough, but I don't think there's many American cities who are like, yeah, let's go watch some random former AHL players play 3-on-3, you know?
Yeah, it's called Three Ice. It says season 3 coming summer 2025. So they survived 2 years.
That's also something they would never have in Dallas. Like if you're in the States, that's something they might do in like Boston or Minnesota or something.
It says right here, Three Ice Dallas. So there is a team in
Really? No
Dallas.
shit. Wow, I got proven wrong instantly.
Guy Charbonneau is back in 2024 for his third season with Three Ice as coach of Three Ice Dallas. He returns to the city where he spent the last 5 of his 19 NHL seasons and won his final Stanley Cup in 1999.
All right. Well, I got proven wrong immediately. I'll have to look that up. Well, one thing I always wish every time I see that the the USA and Canadian women's teams do a series that kind of travels around the US and Canada. They play like real games. It's not 3-on-3, but they're always moving around and they never play here. And I would totally go because those are fun games. They're like really intense. It's good hockey and it's just never in Dallas.
Yeah, you got a new favorite team here, this Three Ice Dallas thing.
Yeah. If there's like one random obscure former Saber, I'll probably be like, hell yeah, I'm all in.
I'm trying to think of an obscure Saber now. Obviously, the first Saber that comes to my mind is like Pat LaFontaine.
Yeah, he's not really obscure, but
right.
If there's like a Vaclav Varada or like Brian Holzinger or something, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm in. Just random dudes from like 20 years ago.
I remember Barrasso before he played for the Penguins. He was a Saber.
Yeah, Barrasso had a weird career. Like he did something that would never happen now, or he went straight out of I think public high school in Massachusetts, and he won the Rookie of the Year and maybe even the Vezina Trophy as a rookie in the NHL, which is insane when you think about it.
Yeah, that's crazy. He was huge in Pittsburgh. Did you watch any of the Red Sox Netflix documentary?
I believe I started it, but I don't know. I've just been in one of those like kind of ruts where like I don't feel like watching anything. So I'll flip through a bunch and like I would watch that if I felt like it, but no, I have not.
It's really good, and there was something that really stood out to me because they got basically everybody you'd want to hear from. They didn't get Nomar; they kind of shit on him a little bit in the in the series.
I'm surprised because he's like on Dodgers like broadcasts, like on the post game stuff. He's not like it's not like a hermit who disappeared.
Yeah, he's out. He's out there. Maybe he's bitter about being traded still, or just hurt that they won without him. Who knows? But Theo Epstein had a quote about clubhouse chemistry, and he says, "When you have silence or a bunch of introverted players, inevitably what happens is that vacuum gets filled with negative narratives." And I thought that pretty much described the Orioles this season because there was a lot of negativity around the team and their play on the field. And I don't think they had any real leadership in that clubhouse.
I can see what you're saying from a fan's perspective. I mean, we don't know what the clubhouse itself looks like, but also I get like maybe there would be somebody saying in the media like, hey, everything's good. Like these things aren't true,
Yeah, when he finished that quote, he then said, "Thank God for Kevin Millar," and then they went on a huge Kevin Millar chunk. And I don't know, the Orioles need an identity this season. Like a bunch of guys who play with Legos isn't going to cut it. They need they need something.
I agree. I don't know who that'll be. It does not really seem like that person or those people are on the roster right now, unless some of the younger guys really step up. And I mean, but that's how it works, right? Younger players evolve and take on leadership roles as they age and get more experience. So it could happen, but
yeah, we'll see. Every year has its own like definition of a team, and also a big part of this Red Sox documentary and the Greg Maddux documentary I watched before the season ended was pitchers sticking up for their batters being hit, and that was something the Orioles refused to do this season. I talked about it a few times. And another thing I took away from the Red Sox doc is, and I mentioned this on our last episode because I went back and listened to it today I walked the dog to see what we talked about last. And I compared Braden Hyde to Grady Little, and there was Grady Little in this documentary talking about Pedro and leaving him in the game. And yeah, I think Brandon Hyde's the guy who gets fired before the next guy comes in. And if they're like 19-31, like the Nationals were in 2019, they didn't fire their manager. But I think if the Orioles are in that situation this year, I think he will be replaced.
I was going to say, I think pitchers hitting batters intentionally is more on the manager than anything. So I agree with your thinking there. But yeah, we'll see. There's very few pitchers in the Orioles besides maybe a Corbin Burns who could have just done that without the manager's instructions, I think.
Yeah, Maddox and Pedro both went into great detail how they knew they were going to hit guys, and then the teammates who would speak in the aftermath of the Pedro and Maddox being interviewed were just like, yeah, it was great knowing they had my back. The only pitcher I remember hitting someone on purpose this year was Kimbrel. He threw I forget at who, but it was against the Yankees. It was like a pitch right in the back. You knew it was on purpose.
Yeah, I don't even remember that, to be honest.
I don't think that came from the manager. I think that came from a veteran like Kimbrel. Like you said, only like a Corbin Burns could do that. Kimbrel is a guy who could do that.
Right. You have to be, you have to be good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to be a veteran, and obviously Maddox and Pedro are two of the best ever. So they know that if they drill somebody and don't get ejected, the manager's not going to like yank them or, whatever. Or if Bobby Cox or Grady Little or Tito or whoever got in their face about it, they're veteran and good enough to be like, whatever, I'm moving on.
Yeah, like the unwritten rules are stupid, but they have a purpose within the game that we can't comprehend as fans. And I never found myself in the position I was last year thinking, oh, the Orioles should hit somebody, but they were just getting slapped around all the time by the Yankees, and especially the Yankees. The Yankees just dog walked the Orioles this past season, I thought.
The O's still won the majority of the games, but yeah, it did seem like as far as the intimidation factor in quotes, it seemed like they certainly won that.
Yeah, they were not scared of the Orioles at all, and it showed.
That's something that there's a lot of sports. I think you're never going to really be able to quantify that type of stuff, but people who play the game at the highest level always say it matters. You talk about, hockey and fighting, and, yesterday, I don't know if you saw Shedeur Sanders, Dion's kid who plays quarterback for Colorado, he just got his legs completely taken out by some linebacker on Kansas, and none of the O linemen did anything. And Kansas ended up beating Colorado. I'm not saying that's why, but like you'd think that your star quarterback getting taken out by a very dirty looking hit, somebody would have gone over and like Kyle Turley ripped his helmet off,
Yeah, that's what the Orioles need. And I guess speaking of the Yankees, so Luis Gil won AL Rookie of the Year. It was a close vote. We kind of predicted this last episode. We had said Cowser would finish second. I do believe there is a New York bias. If I don't think that's the sole reason why he won. He deserves a lot of credit for keeping the rotation in shape when Garrett Cole was out, and Gunnar did win last year. So really, like, what do they gain by giving it to an Oriole again? These awards are to promote the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember reading some stats. I think that Jason Stark put out there that he had done a lot of impressive things. I think it's just funny that, like, bar none, by far, the worst start he had all year was against the O's. I pulled up his numbers. He gave up 7 earned in 1 1/3 innings that game. the next highest was 6 earned, and that was 5 2/3 innings. So it's like no contest. His worst outing was against the Orioles. So I think some O's fans, including myself, when they hear Luis Gil, like, oh yeah, we lit him up. Like, he's not that good, but he actually was overall really good. And as we said, being a Yankee, Gunner winning last year, Cowser swinging and breaking his hand on a strikeout, like that didn't help, I bet. So
Yeah, Cowser didn't like lift the team up either. He was very good, but I think what Heel did filling that hole for Cole was more impressive than Cowser filling a spot in left field.
I have to admit, my mind has been so much in like football and hockey mode as far as sports go. I went and looked at Cowser's numbers today, and I was like, that guy had 24 homers. I did not remember that. I would have guessed like 18 if you asked me.
Yeah, he led American League rookies in home runs. He had 69 RBI. I think his 242 batting average hurt him in the voting too.
Yeah, and I think he had 9 steals, which is fine, but he has the speed to steal more if he ever wants to or develops that part of his game. I mean, he's very talented, and he's, as we've talked about, good at getting to the ball in the outfield. He was a Gold Glove finalist, wasn't he?
Yeah, he lost out to Stephen Kwan of the Guardians, who won his 3rd Gold Glove.
I actually didn't realize Kwan was that good of a fielder. I know he's a good hitter.
And the vote was very close. Heel had 15 first place votes. Cowser had 13 first place votes.
This is another opportunity to just say how funny it is that the Yankees don't allow facial hair, but they have multiple dudes with neck tats. Not that I give a fuck about neck tats, but just having that rule when you have guys with neck tats is just so weird. Just get rid of it.
I can't believe they haven't got rid of it yet. I think who was it this year? Was it Gleyber Torres said to the media that there was some trade rumors around him? It was one of the infielders. Who's the other? Maybe it was LeMahieu. They asked him about the trade rumors. He's like, I don't care. I don't like shaving anyway.
I didn't hear that, but that's funny.
He became my favorite Yankee, if I could only remember who it was.
It's his backhanded way of being like, this is stupid.
Yeah, Cowser was named on 27 ballots. Heel was named on 26. The 2 extra first place votes gave him the scoring edge he needed because it's like a weird scoring system for Rookie of the Year.
And then the other finalist was a Yankee too, Austin Wells, and I figured they would have split votes.
Yeah, I guess because Heel wasn't a top 100 prospect, the Yankees don't get a draft pick for that.
Huh.
I just learned that.
That's like, I guess I understand the logic behind that because they're trying to encourage teams to like put their big prospects on the roster, but it's also kind of lame that just because he wasn't ranked highly, that's subjective and it's not their fault. You know?
Right. Like, give him like a 5th rounder then or something.
Right. But also fuck the Yankees, so that's good.
And I don't think you can. I think all the blame here goes to the Twins for giving Heel to the Yankees for nothing.
The Twins, man, they are really good at trading players away.
Yeah.
They're not even a bad team, but like they've given up a lot.
Heel won AL Rookie of the Month and Pitcher of the Month. He became just the 5th person in Major League Baseball history to win both awards in the same month. That's pretty impressive. I don't have the other 4 people. That would have been nice to know.
I was waiting for the Billy trivia there.
Yeah. It's the off season. I'm not in season mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gold Gloves. Mountcastle was nominated, which that's questionable at best. He missed most of the season. Like,
I mean, he's good at first base, though. I see what you're saying. He did miss a good chunk, but he's a good first baseman.
Yeah, he's in a platoon and he missed a good chunk. Carlos Santana of the Twins won it. So I didn't understand people complaining about that one. It was just like he was lucky to be nominated in my eyes.
It's actually impressive that Carlos Santana is still playing in the first place, and then the fact that he was a catcher and now plays first, and he's got to be like late 30s, pushing 40.
Yeah, I think he's 39.
He's 38. He'll be 39 like as next season starts.
one thing when Mountcastle was out, it made you realize how bad O'Hearn was at defense. And the Orioles picked up his option. They picked up Sir Anthony Dominguez option, and CNL Perez was also picked up. Here's where the big surprise of the offseason is so far. Danny Coulombe, you're out of here.
Yeah, that was very surprising to me. The only thing I can think is that he has some injury or something that we don't know about, but the team does. Otherwise, I don't know if any fan really gets it.
No, I would have picked him over CNL Perez 10 times out of 10, given everybody healthy.
Absolutely.
I'm very tired of CNL Perez. Coulombe was just so much fun to watch. I think he would have made $4 million this year, which isn't outrageous. I mean, Soto's making like 5.6 and Dominguez is making 8 million.
Right.
Coulombe, I think one problem is Jacob Webb was also non-tendered. Neither of them have like the high velocity that teams seek now in the back of a bullpen. So I think that was a factor. And then neither of them were also given up much assets to acquire. Coulombe was acquired for cash on like the last day of spring training in 2023. And then Webb was a post-trade deadline waiver claim last season, 2023 season.
Yeah. I agree on Webb because it is his like identity as a hard thrower, but he doesn't really throw super hard. Like 20 years ago he would have, but not now. But I mean, Coulombe, he's legitimately good, and his spin rates and his curveball and stuff are really good. I was shocked to see that they didn't even offer him a contract.
Yeah, I think he was the most trustworthy guy in the bullpen last year, pre-injury.
I don't know what the rules are, if there's a way they can still bring him back if he doesn't sign somewhere else, but I'm kind of hoping that there's a way they still have him at the start of next season, because I mean, also the fact that, he had that injury and was out for I think a couple months and then came back and the fans gave him a standing ovation, and just the fact that the fans appreciated him as much and he said so after the game, like that was really cool. And it's just surprising that the O's were just like, see ya.
Yeah.
Unless, as I said, he might have an injury that we aren't aware of, and that's why.
Yeah, my first thought was his injury must be worse than anybody knows, and they can't comment on that.
Right.
That's
be a
bad
HIPAA
for
violation,
business.
I guess.
Yeah. Webb missed a good chunk of time too, and he still managed to pitch in 60 games.
Yeah. He should sue the Orioles. Be like, you overused me, and now you're not even offering me a deal.
Yeah, he had a 3.02 ERA and a 1.18 WHIP. So he was pretty good too. But yeah, they're going to have to spend some money to replace him, I think, because they're both fairly affordable, especially Webb.
Yeah. This offseason is going to be the great, I can't think of a good word right now, but like people are going to decide whether they like Rubenstein or not this offseason, because everything's been fun and happy and wonderful. But if he doesn't spend money and make the team better, people are going to be pissed.
Yeah, Coulombe had a 2.56 ERA in 81 innings in 2 years.
Which is really good.
Yeah, that's really damn good. Back to
and
the
he
Rubenstein.
Could also get out righties too, like as a lefty. He's a guy you could kind of bring him in whenever, and I don't get it. Not gonna.
Yeah,
lie.
that's why I said he was my most trusted guy. When he came in, you never really worried.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to the free agency comments, where are you at? So they're already in the hole because of Burns and Santander being free agents. So you have to sign 2 big money guys to replace them, whether you bring them back or not, because they're big money. I'm very skeptical. I keep hearing people say that the Orioles are going to spend this season, not just fans, media too. I'm very skeptical that they're going to spend big money this offseason. One thing is, I think Rubenstein is cool with spending money. I don't know if Elias is. Like, I kind of think Elias likes shopping on the margins a little bit, and I don't think they want to overpay guys either. Like, they have their systems, and I think it would just go against everything in their beings to throw too much money at a guy they don't like just because he fills a hole. And I know they love the guys they drafted too, is what I'm getting at.
I do think there's some degree of you bring in a free agent and maybe he makes a lot more than anyone else, and some guys might resent that or something. But at the end of the day, it's a business and you're supposed to be trying to win games. And I mean, there's always those low budget teams who end up making it far in the playoffs, but I actually think this year's World Series matchup was perfect to try to get teams to spend the Yankees versus the Dodgers. Just showing that you can't always beat the system. And yeah, I don't know. I've said for months now, nobody knows how they're going to behave on the free agent market or even extending their own players under Rubenstein. But if he wants to make a good impression, besides wearing his signature hat and being Mr. Splash and stuff, he could do it by spending some money.
Yeah, do you think Santander and Burns will be back? I guess we could start there. That's the easiest question.
It wouldn't surprise me if one of them came back. I'd be surprised if both. But I would say Burns would be more likely to come back. And I only say that because starting pitching is a bigger hole on this roster.
Yeah, I get the logic there, but I think Santander will be more likely to come back. I think Burns had 1 foot out the door in Milwaukee, and I think he had 1 foot out the door in Baltimore this season. And I really think he's going to end up on the Mets. When he did that weird article last year that was talking about the Mets players coming up to him saying that their general manager had put in practices that Burns had done in Milwaukee to help them. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, he's signing with the Mets, no doubt about it.
Right. He could. I mean, hey, at least that wouldn't be the Yankees.
So where I'm thinking if they're both gone, though, is I could see Kjerstad taking over in right, maybe some Kobe Mayo playing some right field and first base. And if they are going to spend money, I would like to see him go big on 2 pitchers then.
That would be great.
Get like Snell and Burns or something.
Right. Or Max Fried. I've seen a lot of people talking about him. He's a guy I didn't realize was as old as he is, but I guess that's the nature of Major League free agency.
Yeah. What is he, like 29 or 30?
I think he'll be 31 next season. So I'm like, I still think of that guy as being like 25.
That's what sucks about buying pitching, because they can blow out at any moment. To get the top guys, you got to give them 7 years, and you got to overpay them. And they're declining because they're aging, and then everyone's always waiting for an elbow to pop.
Right. But, I mean, the situation the O's are in right now, I feel like they're a perfect example or a perfect reason to spend money is that they have a lot of good position players. They have a ton of injured pitchers right now, some of which might never pitch for the team again. You have Means out, Bradish out, Wells out. None of them are going to start the season, I would imagine. So you can't go into the next season with, if you don't replace Burns, like that's a huge failure, I think.
Yeah,
replacing
absolutely.
Burns is virtually impossible if you don't re-sign him. But like just getting somebody who's a number 1 at least, I think would be a giant mistake.
Some guys we know that are going to be back for sure are Keegan Aiken. Bradish was tendered, even though he's not going to pitch. Dean Kramer, Mateo, Mountcastle, Mullins, Trevor Rogers, Adley, Gregory Soto, Ramon Urias, and Tyler Wells. They were all tendered. I don't, like you mentioned John Means, I wouldn't fuck with him anymore. He, like, hats off, great Orioles career. You were the lone bright spot on some dreadful teams, but I lost trust in him last spring training, and then he did nothing to show me that he can put together months and months and months of quality starts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the numbers, but I would imagine returning from a second Tommy John probably takes longer than the first.
And
So
so quick to the first one. It's not like it was like 5 years later or whatever.
yeah, I don't know if he'll be back next season at all. Um, yeah, they have huge holes in the starting rotation. They need to address. There's no reason not to because you're clearly a good team and you're in your contention window. And if they don't do that, I guess I would just say I don't see a world where they don't address their starting rotation with at least one guy, if not two.
Yeah, they need to. Um, Wells, Bradish, and Mateo were added back to the 40-man roster because you can't have 60-day IL guys during the offseason. So
Yeah, that
that'll
would be like
probably
a Rule 5 cheat if they allowed that.
yeah, that'd be nice. But so that'll open up some 40-man spots at the spring training, especially for Wells and Bradish. Who knows where Mateo will be by then?
I think I read recently that he's like projecting on course to be returning around the start of next season. Because
Oh
he
yeah,
had Tommy John, but obviously he's not a pitcher, so it's not as big of a deal for him. So
yeah, I saw that too. Like he's going to be rehabbing right up until the start of the season, and then so he might start slow then too, which is not good for him.
kind of always. Wait, no, he's a hot starter. He starts
Oh
hot
yeah,
and then stinks after that. So if he starts bad and then stinks after that, it'd be all bad.
Luis Gonzalez was added to the 40-man roster. He's 32 years old. He spent all of last season in Norfolk. He had a 4.50 ERA and 60 innings pitched. I got to be honest, I didn't see anything from him last season at Tides games that made me think he could. Not that I'm a scout or anything, but when you see a guy enough, you're just like, I never saw him and was like, get him to Baltimore.
Yeah. That's the thing with Rule 5 too. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you select a guy, he has to stay on your major league roster the entire season or else
Right.
you can the team he came from can claim him back for free or something, right? Or a small amount.
Yeah,
Pocket
it's like
change.
$50,000 or something.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of
So
phantom injuries with Rule 5 guys. That was how Santander was able to slide through. He was
oh,
hurt
so
like
they
that
don't have to
whole
actually
season.
be on the major league roster.
Yeah, he was hurt, and then he spent I don't know how long, but he was with the Tides after his Rule 5 season.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, the O's seem to act like they know more than a lot of teams when it comes to the hidden gems.
Yeah, here's a hidden gem. They avoided arbitration with Emmanuel Rivera. He got a 1-year, $1 million deal after hitting .313 down the stretch, and he got more playing time than I think anybody was comfortable with after Westberg and Mountcastle's injuries. But that's cool. He's back, whether he's just minor league depth or can actually, if he's going to be on the roster, they're going to have to trade some guys.
I would think if they try to waive Rivera, I don't know what his eligibility is, but if he has to go through waivers, I would think he'll get picked up based on his sample size with the Orioles last year.
Yeah, he was very good.
Mm-hmm.
And then pour one out for Austin Slater. He signed with the White Sox.
I guess good for him. He should play there.
Yeah, he'll probably play 120 games there. It makes sense for a team like them to sign him. He's basically just going to fill a spot while they try and replenish their system.
Right.
I don't think they're really planning on winning. Like if they won 60 games next year, that'd be like double their wins.
They weren't that bad, but
yeah, weren't they like 41 wins or something?
well, yeah, doubling their wins isn't 60, but
yeah,
yes, they were at 41 and 121. That is absolutely horrific.
yeah, that's bad baseball. Eloy Jimenez had his $16.5 million option decline.
No surprise there.
I wouldn't even be surprised. I think if he wants to play next year, he's getting a minor league deal. He can't do anything anymore.
Yeah, he is basically just like a DH who's not that great at hitting.
Yeah, he can't run. He was only hitting singles. Like, he's a vibes guy, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were wondering how to say meatball in Korean, you can watch Cole Irvin pitch for the Doosan Bears next season.
Oh shit, Cole Irvin signed in Korea?
Yep, he's in the KBO.
Wow. What a downfall.
Yeah, do you think he'll have like a Eric Fetty return in 1 or 2 years?
I'm going to bet on no.
Yeah, I would bet
But
on
I
no.
don't know why he's been so bad, you know?
Yeah, I just think he's not good.
I think you're right. But I don't know why that happened, you know?
Yeah, what a disappointment. So,
right.
Good luck in Korea, Cole Irvin.
Damn. I mean, I guess it could be worse. Like, if you have to pick another league, that's probably the second best behind the majors, I would say, after Japan. But, yeah, to go from Major League Baseball to Korea when you're not old that stinks.
Right, I was just thinking, so how is there not a spot for him now, even if he took like a minor league deal? Like, couldn't you still take this KBO deal? I guess I don't know when the KBO season starts. I'm just assuming it starts in spring or whatever.
Maybe they offered him good money, and he I would imagine his contract has some type of clause where if he gets offered a major league deal, he can leave or something. I don't know. Don't know how that stuff works, but or maybe he's like, I've always wanted to live in Korea for a year or two, so I'm taking that chance now.
Maybe they I forget what I was gonna say, but Cole Irvin's gone. Oh, he was not good with the Twins last year after the Orioles waived him.
Right.
So do you think James McCann will be someone's opening day catcher next year? Because I do. I think he'll be someone's starting catcher for the most part next season.
You think so?
I feel like I'm alone on this, but I think people forget that the only reason he was on the Orioles is because the Mets were paying him. And the Mets gave him a 4-year deal last time he was in free agency. So teams obviously like him. I could see him getting a 2-year deal from someone and then starting like 115 games.
We just talked about Slater going to the White Sox. McCann's already been there. He's familiar. I don't know what the White Sox catching situation is, but... Oh, wait. Are the White Sox the team with that guy, Chucky Robinson? Is he a White Sox guy?
Yeah, he's a career minor leaguer.
But he should play over McCann. He's more fun.
Just by being the only Chucky in Major League history?
And he's got a really good arm.
Oh, yeah, he did throw out someone on the Orioles, right?
Yeah.
Like a perfect throw.
Chucky Robinson's got a cannon, and he's got to be younger than McCann.
I think he's like 29.
You're right. He's exactly 29. His birthday is a month from today. He'll be 30. No, they got to play Chucky Robinson. He's not better than McCann, but he's more fun.
Rich Dubroff suggested McCann is looking for a multi-year deal. There's no way the Orioles are going to give him a multi-year deal with Bassiah looming, I think.
Yeah, not with Bassiah. I agree with that.
And McCann didn't choose to come to the Orioles. He was like sentenced here. Like, he didn't come here being like, "Oh, I want to mentor Adley Rutschman." Like, I wish I could bet on FanDuel that my James McCann claim that he's going to, because I asked the On the Verge podcast in their mailbag, do you think James McCann is a opening day catcher next year? And they all said no. And then your reaction here was, like, what are you talking about?
I would say no. Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, he is a good backup. I don't know if I want him to be my starter, but I also don't know the catching situations of some of the lesser teams like the White Sox or the Rockies or, those types of teams. I don't know who catches for them. So maybe he could be a starter for somebody like that.
The Orioles were linked to the Rockies All-Star Game MVP catcher. What's his name? Elias Diaz or
All-Star Game MVP? Yeah. Yeah, that is his name.
Yeah, so he could be a big.
That's the only thing he'll ever be known for, I'd imagine.
All-Star Game MVP. Brandon Young and Cade Stroud were added to the 40-man to avoid the Rule 5 draft. I really, really liked Brandon Young when I saw him last season.
I remember you talking about him, and I recognized the name. Like, oh yeah, Billy said he's good, but Stroud apparently is kind of a like from the clouds 40-man guy.
Yeah, I didn't see enough of him. I think he throws pretty hard, but Brandon Young, he can definitely pitch in the big leagues. I don't know if he'll be a starter or a reliever, but he's got the build, he's got the arm. He just needs a chance.
Well, I mean, as we said, with between letting guys like Coulombe and Webb walk and having holes in their rotation, he might get that chance next year.
And the Orioles start the offseason as 12-1 odds to win the 2025 World Series. That's tied with Houston for fourth best. That seems kind of high to me.
I mean, we both acknowledge it's weird that the Orioles are good, but like, I feel like it's not too far off. If they re-sign Burns, I don't know. All you're saying is they have the fourth best odds. It doesn't mean they're gonna win anything.
I just feel like a lot of people like that more than I do, as far as like being a winning organization right now.
Well, that's something I thought of when you were talking about McCann potentially leaving. It's like he is one of those veterans, and
yeah,
they do need to fill those types of holes. It can't just all be young guys. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
They were 16-1 coming into this past season. I was higher on them coming into 2024 than I am going into 2025. I think it's possible they take a step back next year, like 88 wins or something. I'm really not sold on them the way I was coming into 2024.
They could. On the other hand, it does seem like it's helpful for teams who are young to make the playoffs a couple times and lose before they get over that hurdle. So maybe they've learned enough at this point that they will not lose every playoff game this season if they make it.
And Santander and Burns declined their qualifying offers. No surprise there. Burns finished 5th in Cy Young voting. Skubal won the award.
Not surprising. We knew that like 2 months ago. He was nasty.
And then, did you see Kyle Ripken's recent comments about trying to sell some guys on being like a local legend? I thought that was cool. Because it's true. I've always thought that too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, everybody obviously wants to be paid what they're worth. So I think there has to be a balance there. Like, if a guy's worth $200 million in the open market, he's not going to take 150 to stay in one place. But if you give him like 180, 190, maybe he'll think of it. So
it felt like those comments were directed at Gunnar Henderson, who finished 4th in the AL MVP voting.
Yeah, he's a beast. I hope they lock him up. That's another thing Rubenstein could do to just make fans rejoice. Just extend. Everybody said extend Agley after that second half. I don't know. But
yeah,
if he extended Gunnar right now, people would be like, hell yeah, you're the man, Rubenstein. I love you. Would
you call that a successful offseason if they extended Gunnar but didn't add any high price free? Yeah, that's not enough.
No, because Gunnar's going to be on the team next year regardless. So I would disagree.
That's what I mean, where I think they're kind of in a hole already with Burns and Santander. Because Gunnar, yeah, they need to sign him. I don't think there's any chance he signs. I think he goes to free agency.
It wouldn't surprise me either way. I would say 50-50.
And we have a bunch of coaching news. I don't know how much we want to get into this. Freddie Gonzalez is gone, the bench coach. Jose Hernandez is gone. I remember him with the Tides. He always seemed nice. He was the third base coach there. Chris Holt, former pitching coach prior to last season, he's gone. He came over with Elias from the Astros. He'll join the Red Sox as their bullpen coach. Both hitting coaches are gone. Ryan Fuller took a job with the White Sox. Good luck. Matt Borg-Schulte joined the Twins. Borg-Schulte spent 2018 to 2021 with the Twins. It was their AAA hitting coach, so that makes sense. Then the new hitting coaches are Cody Ash and Sherman Johnson, who was a coach with Bowie. And now I want to bring up the Bowie rebrand. You have your Bowie Bay Sox jersey on right now. That's officially a throwback now.
Yeah, they had a deep discount on. I think this is like a game worn, or at least like a team issued Bowie jersey, and it was pretty clear something was up because they were selling off all their stuff, and they are now the Chesapeake Bay Sox.
Do you like the new look?
I don't dislike it. I mean, it's kind of funny because Bowie's not on the bay. You have to drive like a solid, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes to get there. But I think branding is a lot of the game nowadays. And I think you might get more people going to games there because they're called that, even though it sounds stupid because they're not moving anywhere. I think that's probably what they're thinking, at least.
Yeah, the stadium's not great, and it's not in a great location either. It's like behind some hotels.
Yeah, it's just like on like a big like shopping area.
Yeah. I like the blue crab and their new logo, but I got one complaint, and that's him holding the Maryland flag, which we've both expressed displeasure with.
It's too much Maryland flag. that is for sure. Like, who doesn't associate the Chesapeake Bay with Maryland to begin with? Like, do they think people will think they're in Virginia or something?
Yeah, I always think of Chesapeake as a Virginia thing because I live like 10 minutes from the Chesapeake border.
Okay, well then maybe that's why. Maybe he should be holding the Maryland flag, so fools like you don't think they're in Virginia.
That's true. Like, yeah, okay. I don't even know if I know what the Virginia flag looks like, but this Maryland flag is hard to escape. They love that thing.
I think the Virginia flag is like blue and pretty plain. Let's see. Yeah. It's blue with a circle, and there's an image of it looks like a woman like standing, like stomping on someone's chest.
Nobody flies that here though. Not
Oh, it says Sic Semper Tyrannis. The only thing I know that from is when that's what John Wilkes Booth said after he killed Lincoln and he jumped down onto the stage.
Did he really?
Uh-huh.
And that's the saying on our flag?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean?
Something about tyranny. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Let me look it up. Is a Latin phrase that means thus always to tyrants. It's a state motto of Virginia and is often used to suggest that tyrannical leaders will eventually be overthrown.
We'll see. I'm skeptical.
Right.
Then the Orioles were linked to former Cubs manager David Ross. I don't think it's a stretch to think if he takes that job, he's the next Orioles manager.
I don't know a ton about David Ross. I know he used to be on the ESPN broadcast, and I liked him. We talked about, you said Eloy was a vibes guy. David Ross seemed like the ultimate vibes guy when he played.
Yeah, he was big on those Red Sox teams I think he was a backup catcher, and
right.
all the fans loved him, or at least appreciated what he brought to the team.
He seems like he would be a good guy to also have for Agley and the catchers around.
Yeah, Adley needs help. There was some Mariners podcast throughout Jordan Westburg as a trade for one of the Mariners pitchers, and I was thinking,
Not a terrible idea. I mean, I like Westburg, but
I was wondering though if the Orioles would trade Adley before Westburg at this point.
Well, they have Cal Raleigh at catcher, who's like better than Agley at this point.
Well, I just mean from the Orioles' like internal points of view. If say a team offered a pitcher that the Orioles didn't want to pass on, and the other team was like, "You can give us Westburg or Adley. It's up to you." I almost think they would keep Westburg at this point.
They might.
I want to know.
Maybe that's why they brought back Rivera though, to play third.
Oh my God, that'd be so disappointing going from Westburg to Rivera as your everyday third baseman.
Rivera hit like A-Rod in his 27 games. So.
A lot of that came in like one series though, or one game. I remember.
I know it's an extremely small sample size. I'm kidding, but because I think right now If you assume Holidays doesn't stink next year, you can probably pencil him in at second, and Westbrook plays third for the most part.
Yeah, that was another reason why I think the Orioles take a step back next year is they have to work in Mayo and Holiday, assuming neither of them are traded.
Yeah. We'll see. None of us know right now.
Holiday's not getting traded, but
No.
could be Mayo being traded. Wouldn't surprise me. Jim Bowden has Santander going to the Nationals on a 6-year deal.
That'd be lame. It would be kind of a bummer for Santander, too. Who wants to go
I want to
play
see Justin Verlander as a closer. Not for the Orioles, just next season. I think that'd be fun. Because he can't pitch 200 innings anymore.
there? Right. I mean, he still probably can throw hard.
Right.
All I know is he kind of stunk this year, but yeah, I would imagine a guy like him has got an inning in him.
Then the Orioles acquired Daz Cameron from the A's in a trade. He was in the organization in 2023 where he spent the entire season with the Tides. I remember when Mullins got hurt, I thought Daz Cameron was an option, and then they brought in Aaron Hicks, and then I was like, oh, they don't view Daz Cameron as a legit option. So this is probably bad for him, but good for organizational depth.
When I saw that news, I was like, is this a glitch from like a year ago that they're just repeating the same news?
Yeah, he had 170 at bats with Oakland. He batted 200 and only drove in 15 runs.
Sweet. It's like Christian Pache numbers.
Yeah. The Orioles claimed Rene Pinto off waivers. He's a 28-year-old catcher who spent last season with Tampa Bay, appearing in 19 games. And they also added Thaddeus Ward off waivers from the Nats. He was a Rule 5 pick in 2023. He had a 6.37 ERA and 30 strikeouts and 35 and a third innings that year. And he spent all of last season with Rochester.
I feel like I remember him pitching against the Orioles. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
I don't remember what he did, though.
I just remember that name.
Yeah, I remember him being a Rule 5 pick. And, they're always fascinating.
So in 2023, he threw 2 innings against them. One was in April, one was September. Combined to allow 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts.
All right.
In 2 innings. So maybe they saw those 2 and were like, all right, Thaddeus Ward's our guy.
They know nothing else about him other than the 2 innings he pitched against the Orioles. And when it gets there, they're like, what do we got? And they're like, oh, God.
Yeah. Otherwise, his numbers are brutal. But you never know. The perfect lottery ticket right there.
They got another guy, Vamil Machin. I hope I'm saying that right. Apologies if you're listening, Vamil. 31-year-old left-handed hitting infielder, parts of 3 seasons with Oakland. He was good enough to play for Puerto Rico in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. And then this past year, he hit 7 home runs and 56 RBI while hitting 401 in 85 Mexican League games.
Okay. What does 401 in the Mexican League translate to?
Probably
like 220 in the majors?
Yeah, 220 in the majors, but 275 in the international league.
There you go.
So I'll probably have fun watching him with the Tides next season. Wrapping up here with the roster moves, Daniel Johnson and Bert Smith refused AAA assignments and became free agents. I loved Daniel Johnson with the Tides last season, but I'm cool if I never see Bert Smith throw another pitch again.
I think they're both fine Norfolk players. Obviously, they won't be there. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. I guess they could come back too, but
I could see Johnson coming back. I don't think Birch will be back. He was old when he got there. He was like 34.
And his name's Birch.
Yeah, if you can't find a spot for Jacob Webb, you don't need to be finding a spot for Bert Smith.
No, that is true. Webb is decidedly better, I think.
I guess the big news of the offseason so far is the Wall moving back in. You have any thoughts on this?
When I first saw that news, I thought it was a joke. I was like, hold on, they're moving it again? Like this? Is this the Onion?
I had a similar thought. My first thought was, remember Orioles fans kind of shit on Aaron Judge for calling it a create a park when he first saw the new wall.
And then they're like, oh, let us just keep moving the wall and doing that.
Yeah, so my first thought was, oh, Aaron Judge was right. This is kind of a joke now.
Right. Yeah, that's weird. It's also funny because they're not moving any seats, so there's just going to be a giant gap between the wall. Like, I know that's common in a lot of places, but not. I don't know. It hasn't been a thing at Camden Yards, at least.
That seems dangerous. I remember that guy in Texas fell trying to catch the ball from Josh Hamilton
Right.
because of
I
that
mean,
gap.
that's not normal. You could also not put cement down there, I guess, and that would help. Um, yeah, very odd.
What could they put out there, like an Orioles monument park, like the Yankees have?
Not down in that space.
They only have like 6 retired jerseys.
You know what they
anyway.
should do is do one of those walls like where the field crew sits in right field, and just make people pay out the nose to sit down there and like have like a fence so they can see at field level. Put like a bar and a food place and some bathrooms down there. They would make a lot of money, I bet.
Yeah, people would pay it. I really don't have any thoughts on this other than like it did seem like the wall was hurting the Orioles more than it was hurting the other teams.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing with baseball. Like, there's all types of goofy dimensions, but both teams have to play to them. So, if you're the home team, it's your job to build your team around that park where you're going to play half your games. So it's if anything, it's the Orioles' own fault if they're not benefiting from those things. The Yankees make sense. Like, get some lefty power hitters who can hit the ball 315 feet and hit a million home runs down the right field line. But if you're the Orioles, like, if you have your wall really far back in left field, don't stock up on righties, I guess. I don't know.
It hurt them defensively too. Like Kerstad running into the wall last year was probably my favorite wall highlight of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's Cowser's spot for until like Mullins moves on and he moves to center. Maybe I'm not worried about Cowser out there.
Yeah, Hayes was pretty good out there too.
Right.
We'll get to him later. Tampa Bay Stadium, they're in a real pickle. Sounds like their new stadium deal fell apart, and then the fucking roof blew off. Now they're playing at the Tampa Tarpon Stadium. How bad is this? That Major League Baseball has 2 teams playing in minor league stadiums next year.
That is pathetic. Like, it was a joke that the NHL had the Coyotes playing at the Arizona State rink, but it's like, oh, you're the NHL, you're hockey, you're clearly like 4th on the totem pole in America. But baseball having 2 teams in minor league parks is ridiculous.
I want to see a A's Rays ALCS
where they're just going back and forth from like 10,000 seat stadiums.
The Yankees Tampa Bay Stadium, it looks kind of nice, like it's newer. I don't think the Sacramento one looks very good at all. It looks very basic.
I haven't seen any pictures of either, but the thing that kind of made me laugh was that Rays fans have said for years, like, oh, the stadium being in St. Pete is why people don't go. So now they're in Tampa, like it's right next to the Bucs Stadium, basically. And now they can be like, yeah, look, our stadium's in Tampa, except this capacity is like 11,000. So they can never actually be like, hey, look, people are coming, because you won't actually know because it's only 11,000 seats.
Yeah, this is a real test for them. If they can't sell this out, they need to leave the market.
Right.
They have to pay the Yankees $15 million to play their 2 next year.
That's kind of hilarious to pay your rivals to play in their spring training place.
Yeah, I saw one of the writers for The Athletic. I can't remember which one. They made a joke that the Yankees should have made the Rays take Marcus Stroman instead of pay the $15 million.
Right. Also, too, down there in that region, there's so many parks. Like, there's so many spring training joints down there. I wonder if they felt like they had to do the Yankees because it's actually in Tampa, but they're already not. So, Clearwater and Bradenton and shit, Sarasota's there. Pay the Orioles. I don't care.
Yeah. Is there still a team in Fort Myers?
Yeah, the Red Sox. Yeah.
Okay, they're still there. I knew the Twins were there,
I think Dunedin, where the Blue Jays are, I think that's on that coast. There's a million right near Tampa. But also, I feel like the roof blowing off that stadium is for the best, because that was an absolute dump. And it's better to just kill it now, I think they're going to try to repair it, but they should just be like, fuck it, it's over.
I was going to just say that. I feel like they're going to try and repair it. And the estimate is $56 million, which that means it's going to be $70 million. And yeah, just what a shit show.
Mm-hmm.
At least, I don't even, there's nothing good there. I think the Yankees team too, the Tarpons, they're going to have to play on like a backfield now next season. They won't be able to play at this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I read that.
There had to have been a better. There has to be spring training stadiums that don't get used for minor leagues all the time. I don't know. I mean, it's not my problem, and I don't care about the Rays, but it's just silly.
Then we have some Hall of Fame votes. This year's Hall of Fame ballot had 28 players on it. The Orioles were represented by 2 former players. Can you name them?
On the new one or like 2024?
Yeah, on this year's Hall of Fame ballot. Voting ends on December 31st.
I think I saw Adam Jones.
Yeah.
Good player, definitely not a Hall of Famer.
Hall of Fame person, though.
Yeah, no, I like Adam Jones. He's just not a Hall of Famer. I don't know the other. Who is it?
It's a trick question. It's Felix Hernandez.
Oh, okay. Spring training legend.
He was on a Hall of Fame trajectory for a while. I think he kind of came up a little short, though.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that.
And Billy Wagner is on the ballot for the 10th and final time. He missed out 73.8% last year. He better get in this year. I'm going to be so mad.
I saw something the other day that among left-handed relievers, he has like the best ERA, the best whip, like literally the best left-handed reliever ever. Like, yeah, he should be in the Hall of Fame. That's just silly.
I want more. The only reason why I'll be mad is I usually don't care about the Hall of Fame, especially after it's such a joke without Clemens, Bonds. I don't think Pete Rose should be in, but I want more relief pitchers in the Hall of Fame. That's really all I care about at this point when it comes to the Hall of Fame.
I think nowadays, too, I mean, maybe in 15, 20 years, we'll see more of it because starters do pitch less and less nowadays. But, yeah, I mean, amongst the closers who've gotten in, Billy Wagner, besides like Rivera, who I think is in his own category, I think Wagner's right up there with everyone else.
So we'll leave off with that. We'll be back in a couple weeks with a surprises and disappointments episode. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.